Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Welcome back to Worth Guitars. As you can see, it's kind of a dreary day here today in Suffolk, Virginia. It's only like 52 degrees. Here we are in April the 21st, and it's only 52 degrees outside. And I kind of had a day planned of getting out in the garden, but we'll worry about that when it warms up a little bit. So instead, today I'm going to get something done on the CNC that I've been needing to do. This is usually my day off, but we're back in the shop today, and that's okay because I love doing this too. So the plan is, hang on, let me grab a neck, I'll show you. I got these necks made here on the CNC. I don't show you a whole lot of stuff going on the CNC because it's kind of boring for you to watch, I would think. I don't know. If you would rather see more of that stuff, let me know. But it seems like it would be kind of boring just to watch the machine go back and forth across a piece of wood. You know, it's kind of fascinating for about 3 minutes, and you're like, okay. So I don't show a lot of that, but today I have an idea. This needs a tenon put on the end of it. This neck needs a tenon because of the way this goes into the guitar, this particular guitar that we're doing, this Nomad build. So I have to put a tenon on the end of this. And it has to have a 2-degree angle for the correct angle on the guitar for the neck to shoot out across the bridge. It's 2 degrees. And there's a bunch of different ways I could do this. I could do it by hand. I could do it on a table saw. I could do it using the bandsaw and a block plane. You know, there's all kinds of ways to do anything that you do, obviously. One of the weird things that I always heard when I was growing up is there's more than one way to skin a cat, which I always thought was really weird because why would you do that? But anyway, to do this is another way of doing it, and I'm going to do it on the CNC. I had this wild idea of making a fixture to go on the CNC. Hold on, let me move this out of the way and I'll show you. This is the plan that I have in my head. Now, I don't know if this is going to work because I haven't tried it yet. But I have an extra neck that I made, and I'm going to do a test. And if it works, we're good to go. And we'll do it on the one that we made specifically for the guitar. So let's see what happens. Hold on, let me change this bit out first of all. Let me get this little bit out of the way because I do not want to break it. Yesterday was one of those days where I broke 2 bits. It was a battle making fretboards. These little tiny bits. This one is 20 thousandths of an inch. And it will break if you look at it incorrectly. So you have to be careful with these. So I'm going to put it away right now so that I do not break it again. Or break another one, I should say. And put these away so that they're stored properly and doing all the things I'm supposed to do. All right, put that back in there. Get out of the way. All right, now we can move this. So I currently have 2 different zones set up on the CNC. I have one over here for making this style of neck. And this one over here is where I was doing the fretboards. I'll grab a fretboard and show it to you so you can see where we're at on that. That's one of the fretboards. Moon phase on a piece of Macassar ebony. Very pretty. That's going to be nice with mother of pearl inlay. We still need to cut the inlay as well. So I did, this is the guitar neck. This is the neck that was made specifically for the Nomad build. And when I do something, I usually do 2 at the same time because why wouldn't you go ahead and do another one while you have everything set up and you're standing here? I mean, you might as well, you can do as many as you want while the machine is running well, everything is, you know, working, you might as well just keep pumping them out. So I always at least make 2 of anything that I do. And it also gives you one you can kind of experiment with. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to try to work on getting this tenon cut, like I said. So my plan was or is, my plan is, not was, it's not past tense just yet, is to set this up on here like this. I made this fixture. First of all, I cut these pieces out and then cut the same corresponding holes that are in the neck. You see these holes in there. These 5mm holes with the 5mm stainless steel pins right there. Okay, that lines up with everything on the neck and everything on the CNC machine. Those holes are here, 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 and all of that corresponds with the holes on the neck itself. So everything falls together and everything falls back in place. The fretboard lands back where it's supposed to go because obviously everything has to land correctly for the intonation on the guitar to be correct, and it makes it easier to line things back up. So I did that same thing, cutting these pieces out and cutting those holes here, and now I have to put this piece on here, and my plan is to do this. I'm going to mount this guitar neck on here. It's a little tricky to get the holes lined up, but once you get them, it works really well. Move that out of the way. And so now that registers back to this side. I'm going to set this up like this. And I'm going to bring the machine over and cut this tenon off. Like that. Of course, it won't go all the way across. It'll just cut a pocket. I've got it set up to do a pocket cut a 1/2 inch deep. So it'll cut down at the correct angle and cut that off. And then what I can do is take it back off of here. These holes line up on both sides. I have holes on both sides. Right? After it cuts this side, I can turn it and put it back using those same corresponding holes over here and do the right side. Cut the tenon. So that'll give me the sides cut, and I'll probably just cut the back off using the bandsaw. I think that'd be the simplest way. And then very carefully work my way back down to the correct thickness. Although, what I can do is set it back up to where I do it here and cut that off. You just have to move your origins around to do that for separate setups. And I may do that too. The problem with doing the back of the tenon on the CNC is it doesn't tilt 2 degrees like this. Now you could use a 3D program or 3D toolpath to work your way down to it, just like you would on any other angle, but I don't know. I'm thinking about that still. I'm really kind of excited about just seeing if the side thing works, because if it does, that's very cool. And obviously I can do 2 necks at once, one over here, right? And then flip them and get both sides of the tenon. Is any of this making any sense? I hope so. I think it will become apparent though once we start trying to run it and we see how that works. So I'm going to try to get it set up. Now here's the thing. A lot of talking. I know it seems like there's a lot of talking, but it's a lot to explain. So stay with me, all right? Here's the thing. To get this on here so that it is set up to where that angle is actually correct, this has to be set perfectly in line with the travel of the CNC. Can't have it a little out of whack like that, right? On this y-axis, it has to run perfectly straight in order for that angle to be correct that the CNC cuts. So what I'm going to do to compensate for that, I believe, is I'm going to, here's my thought. I could either put a piece of wood down here or a piece of plywood or a piece of this MDF and then cut that off on one edge, and then this would line back up to that. Or I could cut a pocket in here and set it in that pocket like that, somewhere in there, and then tell it this is my origin, because that'll be my origin. The thing is, I don't want to get too high, and I'll show you why, because we're starting to get up now, and the machine only has so much further it can go up in the Z-axis. So if you bring it back, And then we bring it over here some more. I'm starting to get to the point where there's only about 1.5 inches of space right there. So I need to drop this down some. So I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and cut that pocket in here. And that'll give me a square edge to butt this against. That's what I need. I believe I can do that without it causing any problem. I do have a little bit of space here where this goes back on. Let me check that. When this goes back on there, I have a little bit of clearance right here. This is tricky to try and figure out. I haven't thought that completely through yet. I think my best bet is going to be to take this board back off, cut another board that this can butt against, and then tape this down so that it's in the right place. Tell it what the origin is, and then go from there. But think about that for a minute, and then I'll get back to it, okay? I just want to say, before we do anything else, though, thanks for tuning in and thanks for watching. Subscribers are going up, man. That's awesome. Thank you guys for stopping by and watching the videos and supporting Work Guitars. That's awesome. So if you haven't subscribed yet, though, at the end of the video, there'll be a button that says Work on it. You can hit that, and there's also a little red square down there. So it's necessary for me to say these things. All right. So let me kick this around in my head for just a minute, and then we'll come right back and get this done, okay? I'll be right back. Okay, so I got it in my head what I want to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this zone off the fretboard over here that I have set up, because I'm not going to make any more fretboards for a few days. So that can move out of the way. Then I'm going to drill 2 5mm holes in the table surface and put 2 5mm pins in, and that will allow this to butt up against them perfectly on the y-axis. Like I was saying, we want this thing to be straight. Then all I'll have to do is just butt this up against that, and it'll be set to the table in line with the y-axis. So I'm going to go ahead and get that broke down and get these tool paths written, and then I'll come back and we'll do that, and we'll give this new fixture a whirl. And I also decided I'm going to go ahead and do the back here as well. It just won't have that slight 2-degree angle on it, and I'll just come back in and cut that with a chisel and fit that in by hand. These are all slightly oversized. I like to make things slightly oversized. I suggest you always do that, and then work your way back down to precision using files and hand tools. And that's more fun anyway. Who wants to just let the machine do everything? So I'm going to put all this away. When I do a set of tool paths, I always put those tool paths on a flash drive. I keep that flash drive in one of these yellow folders like this. See that? This is for the 24 3/4, 12-inch radius fretboard moon phase inlay. Everything that I need to do to make that fretboard on this machine is already inside here. All I have to do is set up the board and show it where the origin is, and it'll go from there. It'll make all the cuts. If you read the instructions. Now you need to remember to write yourself some instructions if you decide to do this kind of thing, because if you don't, you will forget how all these run and how they set up. Where you touch off at and different things like that. It's important, at least it is to me, and it gives you all of the tools that you used and how long it takes to run and all of that type of thing. Whatever software you use will give you that report. And then I just give myself a set of notes like this, a little booklet. Take all of that, put it in a yellow envelope, and put it in a file somewhere. And the next time you get ready to run it, it makes it a lot easier, because you don't have to try and remember exactly how you did it. There's a lot of complicated setups. So, you may be smart enough to remember everything that you do, but I am not. So I make myself notes, which I learned the hard way to do. Make yourself notes. Keep a journal, whatever it is that you're doing. It's always a good idea to make yourself notes, whatever you're doing, whether you're cooking or building guitars or gardening or whatever. That way you can remember what it was you did and why you did it, and if it worked or if it didn't work. If it didn't work, you should make notes about that as well and say, well, I tried this, that didn't work, I should probably do this instead. You know what I mean? So that's the way I do it, and hopefully that'll help you if you decide to do the same thing. It does work really well, because it may be 6 to 7, 8 months before I do another one with the moon phase set up, right? This has everything I need to know right there. So having said all that, let me get this broke down and get that tool bath written so that I can set this up and get this thing going. And I'll be right back, all right? Okay, I got the new cutter in, or the new bit, I should say, the 1/8 inch bit. The machine started doing something a little weird there. It wouldn't home properly, or the origin. It kept telling me that my Z axis was out of the soft limit. I'm not sure what was going on. I really couldn't figure out what happened, but I turned it off and turned it back on. Isn't that what they tell you to do when you have cable problems? Did you try turning it off and turning it back on again for your router, you know? So sometimes it's a computer. It has a big computer down there, and sometimes it has issues. But I think we're good now, and we're going to go ahead and get these 2 pins cut in the table. Then we can get the rest of it lined up and go. Sometimes it just gets weird on you. I think we're going to be okay now. It appears to like where it's at, and so we'll go ahead and run this. Actually, I already ran one of them, but I wanted you guys to see how it ran. So now these 2 holes will be perfectly in line with the Y-axis. That way I can put pins in the table. I'll just show you. So we'll let this come back up to where it wants to be. And we'll move that out of the way. All right, that looks good. Now we can get our fixture set up, and we'll put a couple of pins in the table real quick, and you'll see what I was talking about. Drop that pin in right there, that one right there. So those 2 pins now will align, and nothing will get in the way of this sitting where it needs to go. You following me now? You got me? Okay. So now I can tape this down so it's where it needs to be, just like that. If I did this a lot, if I made these kind of necks a lot and I made this setup a lot, I would do this with some vacuum system pumps to hold everything in place. But because I'm a small guitar shop, and I do a lot of, just custom one-off things, I don't do a whole lot of vacuum systems on the CNC machine. In the future I probably will if I start making multiple necks at a time, but this works for now. I just tape it down with the double-sided tape. Now that is in place, all of this is square, that can go into place, and we can run these tenons and see how this works. Okay, so I'm gonna get that set up, and we'll go from there. We know that our origin is right in the center of this piece here, so I need to find that so I can tell the machine where the origin is. So let me grab my calipers and my phone. Calculator happening here. Okay, so this fixture is 3.026 wide, divided by 2, 1.513. I'll just use my calipers to find that measurement, 1.513. Right there, make a mark. Like that. That gives you a very accurate center of that piece. Let me grab a square and a pencil. Actually, that's all I need. I can see it a little better. Okay, here's my center. You got me? Okay, right there at the end of this fixture, that's going to be my origin. So we'll get all this down on the table and move all this stuff out of the way. Moving stuff. Right about there is where we want it. Make sure it's sitting flat. There's no glue, old glue on the table or anything. Nothing weird happening here. It should be clean. That seems to be sitting good and flat on there. That's what we want. Line that back up where we were. Okay. This is where we want it. Let's get that set up. Okay. Right. You guys see everything good enough? Tip's clogged up. Let me grab another tip. I'll be right back. Put a new tip on there. Right now, we can set this back on there. Using the pins to keep us straight. Right back there. And make sure that it's sitting flat on there. Give it a little pressure. Yep, that looks good. And just to make sure this is square, let me grab one and just check it and make sure this is actually square to the table before we run this. All right? We're not just going to assume that it is, because it may not be. And it is. That's good. Can you guys see that? We're square to the surface, and that's what we want because we're running the sides of these tenons. Now you may be asking yourself, why didn't you just run it this way and then come out? Well, then it leaves that 1/2 inch curve in there. And I didn't want to blow out right here where the bit comes out and blow out the side of the neck right there, which happens sometimes. I'm hoping that when it runs coming out this way, this is a little wider than it needs to be, and it'll be a clean cut right there. And it'll give me a nice square shoulder. And you'll see that in just a minute after it makes this cut, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get this set up. We'll get our origin set up. We'll get that mounted on there, and we'll try and make these cuts and see how it does. And this is our experimental neck, so if anything goes haywire, we still have another one to make some adjustments on. But hopefully it'll work fine. I think it will. I think it'll be okay. This is the first time I've done this one, so that's where we're going. Starting to make sense now? All right. Pretty close. Gonna be close. All right, so the first thing I want to do is find origin. And we're going to take this off. Put in my V-bit so that I can see it really well. And get our origin set up. All right, we'll call that origin right there. Take that bit back out. Okay, that's the right origin. Let's see where we get. I don't think I need a clamp on that. I believe that's got a good grip on it. Yeah, that feels good. All right. Let's see if we can run a tenon. This is our left side. And I'll keep my finger on the stop button just in case. The panic button. Okay, that looks like it worked. Let's see. Turn that back on. Get all the hair out of the fur, dust out of the fur, not hair. All right, let's move this out of the way for a minute. Luckily, this is a little oversized right here. We can still clean that up. Looks like it did pretty good. Let's try the other side. All right, that's our first side. Okay, because I want to be able to work it down to fit so that it's just right. And you can't really trust the machine to do that. As far as this machine goes, I'm sure there are machines that will do that, but you know, even the big factories, you can see the guys that are in there, the guitar factories, they're in there making some final sanding, you know, make sure it fits in there properly. It's really the right way to do it. So let's move over to that side now. Got to call it back to origin first because it's going to hit the headstock. So let's move it this way. Take it back to origin. Start from there. Don't want to run into the headstock. That would not be good. Okay, back to origin. We'll start again. Tenon, right side. There we go. Okay, guys, so this has turned out to be probably a pretty long episode, but let me see if this is still working. Yes. It's very difficult to squish this stuff down into very small bites for people. You know, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of things to do to build guitars, and although I try to keep my commentary brief, I can tend to run on sometimes as well. So, but here we are. And what I just did was I finished running this backside of the tenon, and the depth is good. I like it. I believe that's definitely the way to go, to run this first. That keeps me away from these two corners right here, which are fragile. So we're definitely going to do that on the next one. Now, I went ahead and stayed about 1/8 of an inch away from this edge right here, and I'll show you on the next one real quick. I'll go ahead and run that, and I won't show you all the process of running it and everything like that, but that's where we are. Okay? Bad lighting and all. Okay? But you get the idea. Get back under the light. So, it fits in there. It fits well. It fits right down inside. That's what we want. And I tell you what I'm very encouraged by is the angle on both sides is even. So that means the flip from one side of the other on that fixture over there is accurate. And that's what we're looking for right there. Okay? So, now I went ahead and made adjustments to the tenon width. This tenon width is slightly small. I mean, it's not bad, but it's a little loose, a little looser than I would like for it to be. And so now I can go ahead and run the finished neck, the neck that's intended to go here. The test neck worked well. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the system so far. All of that can be blended in together. The tenon is the right depth. And we are almost there on the neck for this thing. So obviously the neck has a square headstock on it at the moment. That's our new headstock design, square. No, not really. So we still have to do that cut there, and that's another whole process, and I don't know if I'll film that or not because it's just more machine work. But essentially what I'll do is I'll go ahead and cut the headstock shape out and use a template on the router to make that fit properly, and then place it back on the machine to drill the holes and the truss rod port. Right? And we got the fretboard. I think I already showed you that, right? Yeah, okay. So this is where we're at. Now I'm going to take the good neck. Not that this is a bad neck. This is still a good neck. And because what I can do is, when I do the next body that I will use this neck on, after I do some repair work on it, I will make that slightly tighter right there, and so it'll fit in very nicely, okay? Which is easy enough to do. You just tell the machine to leave stock. You tell your program to leave stock. You can tell it to leave a 32nd of an inch on both sides if you wanted to, or you can tell it to cut down to 0. Either way you want to go. That's a great thing about a CNC. You can make adjustments very easily. Say you want to leave 0.1 of an inch on each side, so you got a little bit to sand, you know, or 32nd of an inch or whatever. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and do that, get the new one made, and we're well on our way to getting this baby together. Okay? Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop here. I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and I'll show it to you on the next episode. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and, you know, share it with your friends, and hit the like button, man, the like button. The algorithms love that when you hit that like button. They get a little jolt, and they're like, yeah, 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 every time you hit it, right? All right. We'll see you guys out there somewhere. Be good to each other. Go out there and see some local bands in your area, wherever you may be, and support that music, man. Music is what it's all about, right? Peace. You guys be good to each other out there. I forgot to say, work guitars. Bye now.